Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, coming in your ear holes
October 1st. We smash it 10 yards tonight. The buck we call Pickles. A south wind pushing us back to the zag.
Got her stand on our backs.
Set it out and see what happens. You on it?
Huh?
Got the air going out of me.
Absolutely drilled him.
And boom, he's that good buck.
Go get my buck, then we're gonna go get homie's buck.
Urban piece as hell.
Got him. Pickles is dead.
Kevin Gates, both kills on hanging hunts.
My first public land buck.
Nice work, dude.
Look at that. Triple brow on the right.
I'm digging that.
Bucked out October 28th. An absolutely incredible season.
Here we go.
Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, coming in your ear holes, crispy as hell on this beautiful Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. If you're catching it right off the grill, prime rib is, I don't even know why we call it prime rib, because you don't cook prime rib on a grill. You're getting it right out of the oven, man. You're getting it right out of the oven.
Top shelf, top tier.
Anyways, yeah, top tier. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We're still out here sending podcasts. It is the dog days for a whitetail hunter. Very few people are thinking about whitetails, but me and homie are still thinking about it. Every time we talk on the phone, there's like, hey, we need to get this done. We need to get this done. And we've been plugging away at the list, but we still have a lot of stuff to do and to get moving here. But the important things are getting done. About to do the first birdhouse trip of the year for this weekend. So real excited about that. But anyways, this episode, we're back on a one night as we've been kind of keeping this buck under the radar. But if you listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about physical therapy. PT is this buck's name. It's because it's what we're going to need after we hunt this thing, because where he's at. But I need physical therapy right now.
I was going to say, you need it on that wrist,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah. I know. I haven't tried shooting my bow much. I'm like, I got to chill here, see if I can get this thing under control. But yeah, we're going to get the people that make this possible. And then we're going to break down how 3 years in a row we've been on 190 inch, 180 inch public land giant, with the option of hunting it, and getting encounters on a lot of getting encounters on 190 inch deer on public land. It's insane. Got a good little streak going here. We're going to start off with Ride On Optics, guys. We've talked about Ride On Optics for a while now. Shout out to them for giving us the opportunity to read some ad reads for them. We actually got some optics from them, and I'll tell you what, when I was first looking at them, they looked solid. The price was pretty decent, but it's really hard to get a feel of what you got going on until you get it in your hand. So I just want to say, I've had it in my hand, put it on my muzzleloader. It's holding up to the muzzleloader. That's not the smoothest shooting gun by any means, but for the price, you're not sacrificing quality at all. I know a lot of people think glass should be crazy expensive. It should be double the price of the gun or whatever. But this is decently priced, high quality glass with a lifetime warranty, made in America. Has literally everything in one package at a more reasonable, hunter friendly cost. You know what I mean? And you're going to get it. It's going to come in a great package. You can tell that they put a lot of pride in actually delivering it to you, and you have a lifetime warranty that is guaranteed to get a brand new scope if anything happens to you. They ain't gonna fix it, send it back, nothing. I seen a video on Instagram of a company who sent back a binos that they fixed, and they were broken half when the guy got them back in the mail. And he was like, "This is the exact same reason I sent it in for." So they probably put a new shaft in there and broke again in the mail before he even got them. So with this company, you're getting brand new out of the box scope or binos if you do have a problem. What do you got?
Yeah, staying with the model there of, hunter-friendly cost, Exodus Trail Cameras is running this deal through the end of the month. Last few days to get in on this, guys. What Exodus has going on is you guys are going to be able to send in any trail camera that you have laying around, working or not working, and be able to get $75 off of their Exodus Render or an Exodus Render bundle. So you're going to go to their website. You're going to buy your render, and then they're going to send you a label. You're going to get your render, and you're going to send back your camera. And they have all the directions on their website to go through this. I'll link their website in the comments of this episode. And I really love the render because not only do I, obviously I have the Scout Tech app, which is what they use, and I can invite up to, I believe, 10 friends on my plan to view my camera. So this works really well for the same situation that Cody and I have, is he doesn't have to have, I don't have to send him every picture. I know that he can log in with his own account and view every camera, every picture, every video, get every status report, just like he's operating the cameras and that the cameras are his. So this is really good for big party groups. If you got 3, 4, 5 people on a lease, everybody can just download the app and view all the cameras, and nobody has to worry about hiding a buck somewhere or getting lost in all the pictures that you would get throughout the night. So, and all the cameras get to share the data, so not too worried about giving them extra fees out there. So that's something really special that they have going on right now. Like I said, last few days. I've
seen some of
that.
And some of the cameras that they sent in, man. And
yeah,
I had some of those, D battery cameras that they're getting. They're getting when the cameras first came out, people are sending in them.
Man,
the old school ones.
People just digging deep looking for anything that's out there. It's because it's worth $75. So get on their website, use that code upgrade, and get you a new render here. Moving on to Next Level Deer Supplements. People are starting to post pictures of bucks growing, man. I've seen 3, 4, 5 inches. It's always weird right now because the base is just absolutely humongous. And that's what everybody's talking about right now. But Next Level's got their spring and summer feed. It's available. You can order custom pallets from them guys shipped right to your house. And they're always looking for dealers, trying to expand and grow that company, especially out east and Indiana and Ohio guys. And it's a great opportunity to maybe earn some income and get your feed paid for. And it's perfect for a garage setup to run that baby out of there. So get at them at nextleveldeer.com. And last but not least, the Last Breath guys, check out their YouTube. They're sending out a podcast Monday mornings, starting off your week there fresh with that. And we are offering our audience from these guys codes on Underwarmer, Outdoor Edge, and Badlands Camo. So appreciate them guys sharing them with us to offer it to you guys for listening to our show.
Yeah, I already had a bunch of people reach out for the Badlands code. That thing's burning hot, so it's a pretty good discount, guys. We can't say exactly what it is on here, but it's when you get the code, you're going to have a really good idea what it is. But really good code to get a lifetime warranty product at a pretty substantial cost reduction.
I'm also going to say, don't be sleeping on that Underwarmer code either.
Yeah. Don't that Underwarmer. We slept on that, man. I'm going to have about 12 of those just laying around. It's a little edgy today. Just imagine having that in your backpack. Man, it's colder than I thought it was going to be this morning. And then you're like, dude, I'm solid. I'm like, it can't be any colder than we were out. And I was like, I'm pretty solid right now.
Yeah.
Something about having your core warmer.
It just,
your toes are warmer.
Eliminates everything else.
Yeah.
Eliminates everything.
Your ears are warmer.
-10 never felt so good.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's get into this podcast. I got some notes wrote down. I'm sure homie has some. We'll kind of bounce back and forth. But we are on another 190-inch class deer. This one's different than the other ones, though. The other ones had a lot of junk. a lot of kickers, drop tines, flyers. You guys know about Magnum, the story on him, how that ended up. You don't know about the flyer buck that we called him. We've talked about this buck on here a little bit. This was a buck that we located in an area, threw some hunts at, daylighted on us a couple times. Quite a bit of intel on him. When we really made the move on him, he ended up getting killed 2.5 miles away on another piece of property. So we had kind of let a cam soak and then went and pulled it and said, oh shit, the steer's in here. Threw a couple hunts at him, was on the does that he was on. Mm-hmm. We were seeing the doe group that he was hitting. We just weren't there when he was there because he kept coming back to that doe group and checking that doe group. And we knew that, and we'd throw some sits in there, and you had, been seeing that doe group work through same does. And he just the luck wasn't there that he wasn't with those does that day. But 2 days after you were there, he was with the does, So we're at work right after we've been on vacation for I don't know how long, and he's out there daylight, and I'm like, damn it, that's just how it goes. Running all over hell on 3 or 4 different Exodus cameras out there, renders. We're getting pictures of him.
Yeah, when I was at work and he daylighted in there, I did go out that night, but he was chasing that doe so hard around in there, and she finally just left that woodlot, and the chase was on at that point because it was absolute chaos in there for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And by the time I was able to get off work, get home, get the shit, get out there, still did end up seeing 5 deer that night, a couple small bucks, and another doe and a more mature, not a yearling, but a bigger, smaller doe. And they come in, and I thought he was going to be circling back in right on them right at last light, and ended up not happening.
Yeah. We were in the game on him. I don't know if we've talked much about PT. I know we've mentioned the buck that I'm going to be after, dedicating a lot of time on, both of us, the one we've been scouting for. But this deer's a lot different. This deer is main beamy, tine length, not a lot of mass, hella tine length, hella brows, pretty wide, just a really big framey deer. Mm-hmm. The other ones were kind of massy, a lot of points, framey, but not like holy shit. Like that's
Magnum had a good frame. He just had a shitload of points.
He had a shitload of kickers and points and base kickers and splits, and this one's got one split, and he's pretty clean other than that. So he's going to be in the 80s, 90s range. Verified that he's alive, got late season data of him, and picked up a shed. So very high hopes that this deer is alive. But the reason you guys are here is how in the hell are these podunk guys able to get on this type of deer on public year after year after year? And the very first thing I got is time. To find these deer takes an assload of time. To understand these deer takes an assload of time. So I'm not going to say we aren't lucky that these deer are here, because I do believe that we're lucky as hell that the deer are there. But the amount of time that we spend on that property and the other properties that these deer are on is damn near mind-boggling. Like, we're skipping private land, not scouting as much on it, and just really going in hard. And if you take every hour that you've been out there, every hour that I've been out there, every hour that we've been out there together, I've walked damn near that whole entire thing. Besides that shit we got into the summer, I haven't walked all that, gritted it out. But I have walked enough now that I feel like I have a very good understanding of what those deer are doing, especially late season. And that's when I feel like we have the highest odds to kill that deer. Late season, I'm going to really try to hold a tag back to you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to have the option to hunt this deer late season, because he was daylight. We know where he likes to feed. We know where he's bedding. So I mean, what else do you need to know? You just got to get in there in between them, and he's, you know, not screw him up. So time is the number one thing. But number two is you got to find the area, man. These bucks, if you find an area that there's a giant, okay, you find a random piece of public land and there's an absolute giant on there, right? And maybe he's not there a shitload. He's there for a month or whatever, and you get to hunt him, and someone kills him. Remember that area. Remember that property. Don't write it off. There's a reason if there's a deer of that age class in that area, he was able to hide good enough and have low enough pressure that he didn't die. And there's stuff in there that big bucks like. We've said that on this podcast, I don't know how many times. Big buck shit is big buck shit, dude. I mean, if they like an area, they're in an area. There's a reason that giant's in there. And just like the giant last year, there's a reason that deer was in that little area. Oh, my bad, guys. Plane flying over my house. These dogs are going nuts. So, shut up. Go to bed. Yeah, anyways, there's a reason that the flyer buck was in that area, because there's no one else in that area. And it was a stupid little area, and there was no one else in there. So that's why that deer was there. That's why those does were there. We did find that bed that I believe was his bed where I hung that camera, and then we had that smaller buck come in there after he had died. I believe that he was bedded right there and using that area. But he was, by the time I found the bed, moved the trail camera and shit on it, that is just that spot just sets up perfect for a giant to bed there. And that's a spot that I'm going to have in the back of my mind forever. So if we find another giant in that area on trail cam or visually see him, I'm going to think, oh shit, that area that one giant was bedding in, pretty damn good chance that buck's bedded in there too. So even if you kill the buck, you know, remember that area. Another one is either going to grow up and be in there, or it's going to move in there the next year. You know, what do you got?
I just have here kind of willing to do what others won't, and it's kind of what you're talking about as far as the time goes. We spend a lot of time out there, and I think when we go out there, just through having this podcast, talking to these guys who are successful on big deer year after year, we have allowed ourselves to go out there and have an open mind to learn about what the hell the deer are doing. And something that, you know, Clint, Heath, Dan Bayes, Justin Hollinsworth, this stuff that them guys always talk about is ask why that buck is here and, you know, what's he doing. Them two things, and then, like, you're really going to be in the game of trying to figure him out, you know? And I think when we go out there, and I kind of like how we've had it set up this year, because usually we're, you know, tag teaming out there together. We haven't been out there together this year, but our hours out there, I think, are more than what they have been in the past. And I think it's allowed each of us to gather some intel. And then when we go out there together, I think we're going to have a more effective time together, because you have shit you want me to look at. I have shit I want you to look at. And, you know, it's going to be the first time you're seeing it, first time I'm seeing yours. And I think the conversation at that point is going to be a lot better than if we were both looking at it at the same time, or, you know, coming across something out there the first time together. I think because, you know, I've been brewing on it for a month and a half. You've been brewing on it for 2 months, you know, and we'll get a like, okay, I think this is what he's doing, and then you know, see what you think and go back and forth. So just having that open mindset of what is that deer doing and why is he here? You know, is he here for the acorns? Is he here because it's good thick bedding? Is he here for does right now and he's going to be gone? Is he here for food, late season? Any one of them scenarios, whatever time of the year it is. And it can really let you know if you're going to get ready to waste a lot of time waiting for him to be in there when the does are hot, or if he's going to be moving on after early season and the acorns are gone, you know?
Yeah. Next thing I got, I don't know if this has ever been talked about, but I'm pretty excited when I was thinking about it. What I was going to talk about on here is when it comes to this absolute giant deer, everything you hear on a podcast or you think a deer does, just wipe it off the table and figure out what he does. Like, does he live 100 yards from a paved highway? He could be bedding right there. We've seen it. Is he staying in the exact place that he summers and you think that he left? Possibly. Is he walking where 95% of the people walk to access a piece? Possibly. We've seen that. Don't let your brain destroy your hunt before you even get started. Don't say, man, there's no way that I'm wasting my time because there's no way that deer's going to do this. Because eventually you're going to figure out that he's doing that. And then you're going to feel like a dumbass like me. He's been there the whole time. He's right underneath your nose. Well, I do. I make it rocket science sometimes. Like, oh, he's cutting an angle, but he's probably doing the exact same thing you were doing to get back to where he's at. He's taking the easiest trail. It might be at nighttime, but if you know where he's feeding, okay, he's feeding here. You still got to figure out how is he getting back to where he's bedding. Okay, I got daylight pictures of him where I think he's bedding now. We know he's feeding up here. Where's this line? Then you walk that, especially in the wintertime. You'll be like, we made this way harder than what it should have been, because here's the main trail of what these deer are doing. There's snow on the ground, or it's really muddy out this time of year, and you see the main trail and you're like, okay, they've been doing this the whole time. They're walking out at nighttime. When we are walking out, they're following us out. Like, it seems like a deer wouldn't do that, but they're like, okay, nighttime coming out. They're literally walking out the same way that we are. And we're thinking that these deer are traversing this giant loop to like get away from us, when they're actually just waiting for us to leave and then following us out. And like, when you don't see one trail, but you see like 8 or 10 trails all meet up to the same one to walk out exactly where you walk out to go to the ag. You're like, the whole time I've been telling myself that there's no possible way that this deer is going to do this. He's this big. He's this old. He's not going to be out here in the open when he's out there every night going to that ag at late season. So don't let your brain, before you even start thinking that buck's not going to do something, because it's something you've never seen. Okay, what else you got over there?
I have assets. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind is trail cameras when talking about assets mostly. And that is one of, our strengths, I think, is we do a pretty good job of running cams, getting a little bit more mobile cams. So we're not really going in there messing up the spot. And also another thing with the cams is, we're leaving them cameras out there sometimes, all year, throwing in some lithiums to get through the winter if we got the industrials in there for the summertime, and letting that thing soak. And like, I'm not saying that the more that we go on here, we're putting a little less stock into what the cam's telling us, but we do feel pretty comfortable in a couple areas to just go in there and just X some shit out. Like X that area off the map and just don't think about it because you know it's shit. There's not very much activity and there's not even does in there. There's nothing really going on in there. And I think that's a good way to spend your time or spend a year or a bullshit cam is just leave that baby sit, and then you know for next year, like, okay, how many times have we sat around and literally just X'd off 60 acres and just, dope, ain't shit going on over there. We're not even gonna mess with it. And then next thing you know, you can really focus in on a good meaty chunk of the good shit. So that's one part of the assets thing. The next one is getting you don't have to have a mobile stand, but it helps having a really good setup, a setup that you're comfortable with. And mostly what I'm getting at here is make sure that your setup is not going to limit you to not put in a little bit more work to get to where you actually want to go or need to be. Don't be like, oh man, I got 15-pound stand on my back or a climber and I got a huge ass hill and it's my third day out there and I'm just going to pull up here, 250 yards short. And that's the day you needed to be back there. Like, we have a good setup. If we say we're going somewhere, we're going there, and we're not even really thinking about it. So don't be limited by that. And another thing is, as far as assets goes, is making pins on our phones. I wish Hunt Stand would color code that, and it might, but I wish they would color code it so you can. I know they have the different pins, the symbols, but I wish they would color code it, and it'd be a lot easier. I seen Brian Dullox talking about this the other day on Facebook, and because he was asking Onyx Hunt Stand, and Cody and I both use Hunt Stand, but we're marking trees that we've been in, we're marking where our cameras are, we're marking where other hunters have been, we're marking sign, marking doe bedding, buck bedding, like all that's on our phone, and it's right there, and that's another asset for you guys to look at when you're out there. And I don't know how many times just marking, hey, there was scuff marks on this tree, somebody's hunted this tree before, and out there marking potential trees to get into on certain winds, and you can all jot that down in the notes. So assets kind of goes a little more than just what you would think about your stereotypical trail camera, but that's what I had there.
Okay, yeah, I think, like you said, the assets, I had long soap cams as one of mine too. You mentioned it. You got to know that there's a giant in there to really waste your time in the area, and like you said, we're Xing out spots. We're not Xing out spots because there's no deer there. We're Xing out spots because we believe that they're unhuntable or there's not a buck there we want to chase, but if you didn't have an asset in there, kind of monitoring the area, you can get caught up into having too many options, and you're like, hell, I'm going to go up here and try it. And then you waste a hunt up there and you're like, well, that was shit, just like I thought it was. So, like I said, those long soap cams really allow you to eliminate. And I really think that was the turning point of when we started getting on those deers, these, giant deer, is when we started finding them, like when we started running a shitload of cams on different properties, like started to find these deer, and if I keep going back to, like, I feel like I'm super blessed to just to count the amount of 180, 190 class deer that I've been able to hunt the last 10 years. Like, it's like last 7 years, I would say. It's just been insane to have that many of that type of deer to hunt. But I feel like we put in more work than the average hunter for sure, and we run a hell of a lot more cams on a hell of a lot more different properties than the average hunter. Now we had that one year, man. Remember where we had like 38 cams out on 5 different beaches and a lot of different publics, and we narrowed it down to, okay, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is really, really good. This is pretty solid. This over here is decent. We think we can kill over here. This is like the 150 area. You know what I mean? Like we got the zones. Like there's nothing over here all year long over 150. Like, okay, we know where that's at. Okay, there's giant over here. And the giants are few and far between. But like I said, it takes a lot of assets to figure out where the hell these deer are at. And that goes to one of my most important points that I had. People say it a lot, but hard to hunt areas hold big deer. That's what we're seeing right now. Water, hills, spots that are tough to hang, spots that have high stem count, not big oak timbers, and spots that are hard to hunt with the wind. I feel like that's not something that's talked about. If you can find an area like that, it probably is going to equal low pressure. And if there's like a math equation that would equal giant bucks, it would be like does divided by low pressure divided by nutrition equals giants. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what you need. You need food, you need low pressure, and you need does. And that deer is going to hang in that area. He's going to grow in that area. He's going to be big. He's not going to be pressured. He's going to have the best nutrition he can have. And it don't have to be like people think you need everything. People think you need, well, man, I need somewhere that has a green food source and somewhere that has acorns and somewhere that has crops and something that has, good late season food. These deer can they can grow into giants on little to nothing, but there has to be low pressure. Like that's the number one key. These big giant deer are not, and it could be a super heavy pressured area, but there's just a little bitty spot that's really hard to get to or overlooked, or there's a bunch of water, or it's a swamp, or it's real shitty thick stuff, then that's where he's going to be. So hard to hunt. Every one of these bucks that we've been hunting has been in a hard to hunt or out of the way overlooked spot. There's not been one of these bucks that you walk in an area, you'd be like, there's a big deer in here. This just looks like a good spot to hunt. No giants. There's no big deer in there. We find a nice oak timber, acorns, shit looks prime. We get these encounters and find these giant bucks in shithole trash spots to hunt. Like it's hard to get into. It's hard to access. It's hard to hang stands. You're hard to hunt with the wind. The wind's swirling. You got to do shit. You got to go about roundabout ways to get in there because the wind's a different direction. The wind's actually blowing during the normal day. Like it. And that's the reason that there's nobody in there, because they're like, for one, they probably don't know that giant's in there. More people do than you probably think do, though. That's key. But they're like, man, why would I go back here and hunt this area when I can hunt up here? And it looks better for deer hunting. It feels better. There's more sign. A lot of these places that these giant bucks are, very little sign. Very little sign that says there's a giant here. Like that, there's not a lot of giant rubs or giant scrapes or anything that's saying, oh man, there's absolute magnum giants here. They act like the sign gives them away. They're not really heavy sign layers out there. And it's crazy because there's ass little bucks. They think there'd be more sign than there is. So hard to hunt areas, whether that be access or overlooked or whatever. That's where these bucks are. They're not in the hill country. I mean, there's giants there, but on public land, they're not in that hill country corner of a ag field that looks prime as hell, or the corner of the clover, green as hell, where it transitions. They're not there. They're in a shithole is where they're at. So
Yeah, I mean, he's not just saying that because just to be saying it. It's an actual shithole.
yeah, I mean that's every one of these giant deer that we found
Eh.
have been in a terrible spot to hunt. Like,
and if you think about everything that Cody just said, like, it doesn't look deery. It doesn't look like it should be prime. There's no sign in there. Probably not bedding right in there that you're hunting at. So that's why it looks like a shithole, because it doesn't look anything like big buck home, you know? So that just makes it look like a shithole. And then you hunt there a couple times, don't see nothing. And you're like, this might really be a shithole. But you know there's a giant that's been through there. So,
and a lot of the time, when we're hunting these giant deer, we're not seeing even 5, 6, 7 deer. We're seeing 2, and then a giant's in there. You know what I mean? Like they're not hanging out with a whole shitload of deer. They're not like, oh yeah, there's a big group coming out, you know, this field or feeding this acorn flat. They're not with those groups. They're solo. You know, there might be a couple deer in there. Satellite bucks. That flyer buck had that satellite buck all day, and
yeah.
so did Pickles. Pickles had that satellite buck. So might be a satellite buck in there with them, a couple does, but it's not going to be like a heavy deer populated area where because if it is, there's probably hunters in that area. You know,
they're getting
when someone sees a really, really giant, heavy trail, they're like, oh, I'm going to set up right here. More than likely, there might be a giant in there, but you're going to have to get lucky just to kill them off that.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of pictures, or, you know, they're going to see a lot of deer or more deer than if they, you know, were to be back in the shit. So they're most likely going to set up there.
Yeah. You have to be cool with having hunts where you don't see very many deer or any deer at all.
And how many times do we say that to each other going into a hunt? Like, okay, if we see a deer, it's going to be the deer we want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how almost all of them been.
I'm telling you, you have to be mentally prepared for that. You have to pep talk yourself up, because the shit'll wear on you for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not ready for it. If you're not ready for it, you be throwing it in quick. And if you're not getting him on cam or mobile cam or whatever it is, like, the shit just starts compounding at some point. But you just gotta keep going. So the question is, how do we keep getting on these big deer or bigger deer? Quit overlooking the dumb shit. Just like we're talking about these shithole spots. We stop really just overlooking these dumb shits, you know. Like I talked about earlier, we're Xing stuff off that we've spent some time in hunting or spent some time in scouting, running cams, let them soak all year. And when you X stuff off, you're not messing with that no more. So now you got, we'll just say 3 to 5 cameras that you were running back on this 40. Now they're not going back there. So where are they going to go? They're going to go to somewhere new. Where's somewhere that you got interest? Where's somewhere that you scouted this winter that's like, oh, hey, I need to remember this come August when it's time to put cams up, because this looks good. And I need to see if something's in here early. It probably looked good late for you to be putting a reminder in your brain, or it looked good while they're out there late October laying scrapes. So now you've got these 5 cameras, you're going to throw them up in there. And we're getting to the point now to where it is these really small pockets that we haven't been in. And it's spots that don't look good, spots that everybody goes by. I'm going to say where West Side was, overlooked spot. Spot where Pickles was, overlooked spot. Where the flyer buck was, overlooked spot. Where physical therapy is, overlooked spot. So, I mean, there's 4 bucks right there that overlooked spot. We encountered 2 of them and almost encountered the 3rd one. So, I'm hoping we'll encounter and kill the 4th one. So, just when you stop overlooking them small spots, I mean, how many times you read in the magazine, North American Whitetail, 6-year-old kid in Iowa kills a 180 in a 2-acre woodlot, like that shit's coming out every year. And it's true. Like, deer's probably being left alone in there. And then you can go in there, pin a doe up in there when it's prime time, and next thing you know, he comes right in your lap. So it don't take a lot of assets to cover a small spot like that. It don't take long to walk through it. It don't take long to gather the intel. Boots on the ground, or even on a pre-hunt scout like Cody and I often do. You got your stands on your back. We're like, okay, we're gonna go in here. It's October 23rd. We're gonna go in here with stands on the back. If it looks good, we're gonna set up. If it don't look good, we're gonna keep on going, working back. So that's one thing that I think has really helped us here, especially this last 2 years.
Yeah, if you're Xing out, like I said, that one year we were spread out on a bunch of different properties, cams all over the damn place. And I feel like you need a year like that. You need a year like, okay, if I'm going to hunt this spot, this is where I'm going to hunt, like on this whole entire property. Like, okay, now you took a 500-acre piece and it's 100 acres. Like, that's not saying you might not scout the other, 400 acres in the wintertime or something, see if something changed. But your best chance to kill a giant is in that 100 acres. Well, what you had on the other 400 acres, you pull those cams, and now you can say, oh man, this is this little shitty spot over here, I'm going to throw one in. Or there's this little shitty spot up here, like the poo plant buck.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
there's this little shit spot up here, I'll throw a cam, giant. Like,
I forgot about
everywhere.
him.
Yeah, everywhere you're like, man, there's probably a giant in there. There's a giant.
There is.
It's just like we're getting to the point where we're like, the shit connects that there's a giant in there, and then there's a giant in there. It's just like it. you figure this shit. You connect enough dots on different pieces, and then you can call the shot on. There's a big one up there.
Yeah.
And boom, big one up there. And then you go up there and scout, and they change that field, that grass field to an ag field now. I'm like, dude, early season, that trail came up there should be on fire if it's beans, back in that corner where they're going to pinch around there. I'm like, you run right there. You're going to be on that deer. You're going to be able to see what he's doing. Boom, he's there. Okay, if he's not there, there's only one other option for him to be anywhere, because there's just not shit up there besides literally crap plant. You know what I mean? It's literally a crap plant. It's literally the poop ponds for the town. So it's another one of those. This looks like nobody's even thinking about hunting this place. And I've been trying to freaking lease the ground to the north there for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, we almost had it that one year.
I know. There's one in there. I got to call her again. I'll call her again. Just put it in her ear. Be like, hey, it's me again.
It's May again.
What do you think? Yeah. What do you think about this? Like, it sets up really. That's one of those spots that just sets up really good to hunt. Like, it just really sets up nice in there. Yeah, like you said, don't look over the don't skip over those spots because you don't think there's something in there. Verify before you move on.
Especially, just like if Cody said, especially if you're like, there's a giant in there.
Yeah.
Because we're really finding out that's hardcore.
Like you look at a piece and you're like, oh man, there's going to be a giant in there at some time of the year. And then you run a camera in there and you're like, damn, he was in there. Like,
yeah.
You have to have the confidence in yourself to make that move. It goes back to, we had Scott Buckley on with the giant double dropper that was bedding right next to the freaking campground that people were out there all year, and he's living in the small acreage right by the campground. We drive past that campground. I'm like, dude, there's probably a giant. We were turkey hunting. I'm like, there's a giant. This little strip of timber right here, there's probably a magnum living in that thing, dude, and there's no one messing with it. But yeah, I had that same thing. Don't overlook small areas. One more thing I had is small moves can equal huge results with these deer. Like you're on nothing. You move 250 yards, boom, you found one. You're on the edge of the zone. Okay. Now you got them located. We're figuring out that these deer, they're kind of in this, they kind of have like blocks of, when they're that big, they have like the block of, okay, this is my shit and I'm kind of running this area. And then that they have damn near hard lines that they don't cross a lot. Just off of our trail cam data and what we've visually seen these deer do. If you can find that line, that's a great place to start. But when you find that line and when you're on one and he's there, and then he doesn't show up for a while, don't give up on him. Don't just say, oh, he's gone, he's a mile away, or, you know, we've had that happen to us where we're on him, then we kind of just, we're on him in that area and we give up scouting them because we feel like we're on him because he's been there. But you have, if you're not seeing him, trail cams ain't picking him up, make the move. 150 yards, 200 yards. We talking about that I don't know how many times. If we went 200 yards to the west, how much different would our season have been? You know, if we would have just went 200 yards, same thing with the PT. If we would have went 150 yards east through the thick shit, how different would our whole entire last 2 years been just knowing what's 150 more yards? And you get hung up on, okay, this is my area, I feel really confident here. That's great. But if he's not showing on cams, make the move. Don't get hung up. Don't get hung up in the area. Don't get locked on that one spot thinking then this is the key. This is how it's going to kill them. Like I say on here a lot, trust in yourself, but verify. You got to verify everything because the shit's changing and you don't know what's going on. So small moves can equal huge results. You think 150 yards out there ain't much. You move 150 yards and you're 150 yards hotter, you know, and you're like, oh shit, you know, you move a trail cam. Okay, I got him. I haven't got him for 3 weeks. Now I got him. Okay, now he's over here. And we've had that happen. We don't know if it's from us pressuring him, other people pressuring him, us pressuring the does, and the does tweaking a little bit, and that making him change. There's a lot of stuff that you might be doing that you don't even know. Okay. Oh, I bumped a couple does on the way in. That's not a big deal. And then you do it again, and you do it again. Those does they're like, shit, I keep getting bumped. I'm going to move 150 yards away. You're still thinking, oh, he's in this area. The does are here, but those does are actually moved because of you, and he's moved. And I feel like that's what we had happen was the does tweaked, he tweaked. Does weren't on the top ridge. They were on the bottom. He tweaked over there. Simple for him. He don't give a shit about going on that ridge. He's just up there because there's does. Now, we've hunted back there. Other people have hunted back there enough to tweak those does. He makes the move. You know, but until you look at it as a full circle about this isn't where I'm going to kill him, shit's changed. It's really hard to see that in season when your mind's set on it. I just got to put the work in and then I'm going to kill him here. You got to be fluid throughout the year and not be afraid to make those small changes.
I think that's a really, really great tip, and something that everybody should really think about is small moves, you know, can yield huge results. And just when you said that, like, I just typed on the laptop here, is like pretty disheartening hearing 150 to 200 yards could really make or break your season on a giant. And the last 2 years, I mean, really the last 3 years that Chase Magnum and physical therapy, like, I think 2 years ago, if we would have went to 150 yards, we would have killed PT. And, you know, or we would have been in the game longer in the year than we were. And I know 3 years ago and, 2 years ago, when we got off of PT and started really getting back in on Magnum. So 2 and 3 years ago, if we go 150 yards east or we go 200 yards west, like I don't know what west would have brought us, but I know if we went 150 yards east and we'd have been down right there by that stand, I mean, we would have released an arrow, you know?
Mhm.
And it's just crazy to sit here and think that that's all we needed. We had the tree picked out over there. We knew what it was. And that 150, 200 yard buffer is all it took. And that's something that hopefully this year we can correct. And
I don't know when the light switch hit me. I think it was just shed hunting and scouting by myself and just out there so much this year. I have literally talked myself out of killing so many deer. It's not even funny. When I look back on, oh, he can't be doing that, or that wouldn't actually work, or how do you know it's not going to work? How the hell?
Exactly.
How do you know?
Exactly what you said at the beginning is sometimes you try to make it into rocket science, and I totally 100% agree with you that like sometimes you do that, and it has, you know, we've both done it because then we get to going back and forth. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I could see that, you know, and then we end up in a spot where we don't really need to be.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do when you're trying to surgically remove one and it's the one, you know, but shit happens, but we've learned from it. We know not to do that now, and we're going to be out there just literally going for it. Just going for it.
Yeah, I feel more confident in my abilities for this coming season than I ever have. Just I don't know what it was. It was just like, dude, you know what you're doing. You're on these deer. You know how to kill them. Just do it. Like, it don't have to be in a certain spot. It don't have to be out of a certain tree. It don't have to be, oh, I can only kill them this time of the year. It don't have to be any of that. It has to be when the deer's there, you make the move and you kill them. That's when it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, he's only here for 2 weeks of the year. It's not, oh, he's going to pass the street and he did it 3 years ago. He's going to do it again. Like, it's not any of that.
Yeah.
The deer's here. You got a good idea how you can kill them. Go try it. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, now you know.
Yeah,
don't scratch that off.
Yeah,
try something else.
Don't fall in love with the tree you scouted out in February and you got to kill him and you want to make it happen there because it ain't gonna.
I know a lot of hunters do that. They just find the spot and they're like, oh, dude, I love this spot. You know, maybe they had a good encounter there or a few years ago, or maybe they killed one there, or maybe the scenery is really good, or maybe they see a lot of deer. Maybe they think their access is perfect, or, you know, there's a lot of shit that that's the stand is just set up perfect. It leans back a little bit. You know,
the sun's
there's a lot of
me.
shit that adds up, and then you're like, oh, this is where I'm going to do it. And we've done that. That's not where you're going to do it. But the last thing I had on here is do you got anything else?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. This is my last one. The reason that we're able to get on these absolute giant deer is because we're 100% obsessed with deer hunting and nothing else. Our hobbies are being a dad, taking care of our bodies, and hunting deer. And that's why we're able to do it. In a nutshell, all these other tactics, you could talk about doing all these other tactics, but if you're not going to be dedicated to this game, you're not going to be able to do it year after year after year.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible.
And that's where the wear of, you know, hunting a buck or, you know, trying to go out there and do it consistently, or, you know, taking a night off of hunting to scout a block of timber because you ain't been in it in a month, or move a cam. And sometimes I really feel like moving that camera, and, you know, the second week of November, is huge. I feel like some moves at that time frame are huge, and it proved to be right this year. Like that's when we really got back in the game, was about that time frame. And man, but if you don't love it and you're not like willing to go out there and do that, it makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a giant deer, you can know where he's at. You got to love to do it, and you got to be dedicated to do it, or you just got to get lucky. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of luck involved with everything, but there's a reason that giant deers live this long. So you're going to have to put work in to kill that damn thing. And that's why, I mean, we've killed one of the 190s we've been after, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've had encounters with the other one that we've been after. You know, we're all over this one now. We lost the firebuck early. You know, we were on him and then we lost him a month later. So it's hard to make a lot of moves and encounters with him there. But we're dedicating whole off seasons on these deer. We're dedicating whole preseason game plans on these deer. Like we're dedicating a lot to a giant, you know, and instead of, well, I went and trimmed my stands. Like, no, we're weeks worth of time, you know, that we've put in to figure out how we're going to access this and where can we hunt and why is he in here and where is he potentially bedding and where is he, like, there's weeks of this shit combined throughout the years. And that's literally why we're able to do it. And like I said, the realization was we talk on here about we ain't shit. We don't really know what we're doing, but every year we're on them. We know what the hell we're doing. We just got to believe in ourselves to go out there and kill them. And don't not go all in on a giant, because when someone else kills him, it's devastating.
Yeah.
So
yeah. We're getting a little better at moving on to the next one, but it still sucks that you have all that time, all them hunts.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've been really blessed to be able to have all these giants to hunt. And one guy, a 190 might be a 1 in 10 year thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you got to know when it's your time to rip. You know, and we've been in the batting cage for a while here. You know, striking out, but only one grand slam on a whole hell of a lot of at bats. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty bad. I'm batting like a .010 on my batting average, but got to keep swinging, bro. Got to keep swinging. I'm swinging like a mother this year. Swinging hard, bro. The trip hunt's gonna eat into my swing time though.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be sick, but that's gonna take hella swing time.
A lot of swing time.
No, but hopefully we can we hint at that trip a little later in a couple episodes down the line. But planning a trip this year, something kind of off the wall, radical, kind of more our style of what we like to do anyways.
Yeah.
We chase the big deers at home. We do the other radical stuff in different states. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. The third year of having a 190 or better deer to chase. And we're in the game. I feel real good about PT. And hopefully we can drag physical therapy out of the absolute dungeon that he lives in. You know, I'm hoping it's dude, if it was, how high would we be if it was like a second week of October kill or something on those 8 points?
Holy shit.
We'd be jacked. We'd be like, what do you even do? Like, you're just like, well, trailer park, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, trailer park it is.
Or the poop buck. I got to think of a name for the poop buck. Like,
yeah.
Number 2. Oh, number 2. That's his name. That's his name.
Man.
Just named him.
That's
number
solid.
2.
That's solid.
Yeah. Old number 2 buck up there. Oh. Might throw a couple at him too. At least a cam. Got to get a cam.
Yeah, definitely gonna get a cam.
Hella does up there, bro. the rut
yeah.
would probably be pretty solid up there, dude.
It probably
and they go
is.
straight to that ag, bro. Everything straight off, straight in, straight off, straight in. I'm like, dude, if you got in there in the morning and hung in that tree, like those does are gonna go past you every day.
Every day.
Like one of the days they're gonna have a giant with them. Number 2 is gonna be following them. All right. Well, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We're still thinking about deer hunting. Appreciate you guys tuning in and freaking April turkey season, you know, middle of the mushroom hunting weather and to listen to us talk about deer hunting. We love you guys. If you ever need anything, don't be afraid to reach out. Always try to leave a legacy. Always try to do the right thing. And Whitetail Legacy is out.